All right, what's up there, SEO pros? Today we're doing a tutorial for Screaming Frog, and we're actually going to be teaching Kayla, who we had in our last video, if you remember or if you watched it, how to actually go about and use this. So you guys are also going to learn, and it's going to be kind of cool. We're going to be using the spine and soft tissue website we did in our previous video as an example. And the things we're going to be covering is more of the basics on Screaming Frog. We're not going to be actually looking at some of the advanced things. I mean, we will be looking at a lot of this stuff, but in terms of like the bulk exports and the reports and creating sitemaps, we're not really going to look at that stuff. And honestly, we actually only are using the basic version of Screaming Frog, but you don't need to have the pro version unless you want to be doing things like using the analytics and the search console to be checking out click-through rates and some other stuff around like bounce rates, which I can show you what that looks like, but we can't actually go into that, and we might have to create an additional tutorial for more of the advanced things you can do with Screaming Frog. But this tutorial should hopefully get you through the basics and kind of how to use the main things that you're going to want to look at when doing an audit, and also overviewing people's sites. So as you can see, this is probably the first thing you're going to want to look at after you enter your URL is the filter. So you can filter by certain elements. You can filter by HTML, you can filter by JavaScript, images, PDFs. And if we were to click on something like PDF, you'll see there's no PDFs picked up on this website. So we're not going to want to look at that. But what I usually do is I'll go from all to HTML. So this is usually just going to be like the pages that are being crawled on the website. Now on the very left, the first thing you'll usually see is the URL, unless this is configured differently with the columns. And these are all the different URLs on the website. Now the first things that I usually check out is like, what does the architecture look like? So is there category pages? Is there multiple levels down for service pages? Just looking at whether or not the things that are on the site should be on the site or not. Like for instance, do we want to be using dates as our index, or do we want to be using categories? Usually for the blog, unless you're a news website, you only want to be using categories. So if you're a news website, then you can do dates. I think I said that wrong earlier. So there's some other things you can look at in terms of what's going on here. But generally this is just to get an idea of what's going on in these pages, and then you actually just go to the right of this and you can start seeing what's going on with these pages in terms of the titles, the headings, and we're going to look at that in a second. Now, before we ignore what's going on over here, you can see you can filter by internal, external, protocol, request codes. This is just gonna it's gonna show you like specifically what's going on with response codes. So you can find this with just by filtering by internal and just looking and scrolling over to response codes. But if you just wanted to only look at response codes, like if there's 301s or 404s, it'll just show you all the information that you need to know around that. So usually you can just get away with just using internal. But if you want to do like quick sorts, like quick filters, you can just click on these and you get a little bit more of an easy view instead of needing to like go over here and then drag the H1s over here so you can look at them next to the pages. But most of the time I don't really have to look at it, like them right next to each other, unless I'm doing like specifically on page for H1s, which usually it makes more sense to do like complete optimizations on a web page, making sure you're doing the titles, the headings, and all that stuff, not just one element and like doing all the H1s and then going back and doing all the titles. Because you want to spend like your time wisely, and if you're just doing H1s and then you're just doing titles and then you're just doing metas, you're going to go back to the same page 3 times, and that's going to be a complete waste of time. Before we continue, we already got 10 people watching. Let's see, can you guys hear me all right? Looks like Richard Overvold is in the chat. Nice, just downloaded this today. Good timing for a tutorial, right on. MD said, hi Mr. Reiner, what are response codes? So for instance, if a page is 404ing, that would mean that it's not showing up on the website. If it's like a 301, that means it's redirecting to another page. If you were to Google different response codes, you can see all the different response codes, but actually you can see right here next to the response codes what is actually happening. So the 404 means not found, 999 means request denied. I haven't actually seen that one, but let's just keep going. So next we got our title tags. So one of the things around the title tags is you want to make sure that your title lengths are about over 55 characters and under 75 characters. Now this used to be different. Your title tags couldn't be over 65 characters, but Google actually in the last year increased their title tag length. So now they can hit about 75 characters, and they don't always hit that, but as long as you're under that, you should be okay. And the thing with the 55 characters is that's actually kind of a decent length, but you can add a little bit more. And usually you can add little qualifiers in there. Like for instance, if you're doing like SEO tutorial 2017 and that's only 55 characters, you could add in there like for beginners or something. And that would, that might be too many characters at that point, but you kind of get the point. So if we go back to the titles, we can see, and this was one of the things that we actually picked up in our last audit, but I wasn't being very specific with what we need to actually be doing. So this is something that Kayla's actually going to be looking at. So you can see here we have pages missing titles. That's always a downside. And then, like I said before, some of the pages have over a certain limit or under a certain limit, so we're going to want to increase those. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to look at is these two pages. You can see they have the exact same title tag. So you don't want duplicates either. All of these different things, Kayla's actually taking notes of. So if you guys need to, if you can't remember all this right now, that's fine. We will be providing like a PDF if you want to see this in the future. So the next thing, so like contact, there's the next thing that we want to talk about, and we talked about this in the last audit, topical seeding. So when you have something that's just like contact, of course this needs to be longer, but this also needs to have more descriptive text about hopefully the location, maybe the brand, and then also what they're contacting about, because that way you get sort of a theme for your website. So for instance, the contact page could be something like contact our St. Petersburg office about our chiropractor treatments, peak performance, or something like that. That way your whole architecture is kind of replicating a main theme around these main keywords you're going for. The other thing is if we go down here, if there's any title tags that are capitalized, unnecessarily capitalized, so for instance there's like all caps, it's not a de-ranking factor, but it looks a little spammy, and I would probably not encourage that unless you're like supposed to be yelling things at people, which Kayla likes to do a lot of. No, I'm just kidding. So the other thing is like you'll see titles like this, the truth about cortisone shots. These are not capitalized, so you'd want to go ahead and do that. One of the things that you do want to make sure you're doing is like, if these pages shouldn't even be indexed in the first place, like for instance, these dates, and we wanted to switch to categories, we would probably want to do that before we switch these title tags. So that's one of the things where even if you pick something up like, oh, we need to add all these title tags. Well, if this page is going to be no indexed, then we probably shouldn't be trying to optimize all these titles. So you do want to be a little bit careful with what you're doing. Like you don't want to just go in and try to optimize all the title tags only to realize that half of these pages are going to get no indexed. And one of the ways you can figure out if these are going to be no indexed or not is to look for pages with duplicate content. Now, unfortunately, Screaming Frog doesn't really show you duplicate content. So you're going to have to use something like SiteLiner. And if you go over to SiteLiner, you can plug in websites like this or any website really. And this is a super cool tool. Oops, I forgot to grab that URL. Or wait, do I have it? Let me grab it. Hold on, see if I can grab it. There we go, boom. So we'll go over to SiteLiner. You plug in a website, and what happens is it'll show you all the different duplicate content on the website. Of course, duplicate content isn't a penalty, but it's going to dilute the value of your pages that are using the same content on both, because it's not going to know which page is unique for that. So usually you want to try to make sure and look for duplicate content before you try to do too many things around optimizing your titles. Now, I take this a little bit further, and I kind of ignore SiteLiner sometimes, and I'll usually cross-check this stuff with something like Search Console. So what that means is like you can go into Search Console and look at the click-throughs and the positions for this content, start optimizing the titles around that. That's a completely different tutorial though, and you don't have to worry about that for now. But that's kind of some of the stuff that you're gonna see around title tags. Now, if we keep scrolling over, we're gonna see the content. This is like the text/HTML declaration. We don't have to worry about that. Honestly, I wish they could just delete this, but it might be in the settings, whatever. Then we have our status code. So this is something where it's not very elaborate. You can actually click on these things and it'll show you like the actual, all of the different elements for that page, which is kind of cool. So anywhere, if we click on this on different pages, it doesn't matter what the line is, it'll show you the URL info, and then you can click on the number of in links that are pointing to this post. You can see the outlinks that this is pointing to, the image info, so if there's alt tags, I think, and then it shows you actually the search snippet. The other cool thing about Screaming Frog is, and I don't think this is in the regular version, but in the pro version, you can actually make the changes that you're suggesting, and it'll change them. It'll save them all to an Excel spreadsheet. You can send them over to the client. If they approve them, then you just go ahead and just enter them. So this is really helpful as well for overseas implementators. If you wanted to just do the URL suggestions or whatever the suggestions are for the SERPs, and then send over the changes to somebody who's going to be doing it for you. And then the other cool thing is it'll actually track what's going on. Now, you don't have to use this to do that. There are other apps like something called SEO Radar, which if you guys haven't heard of that app, the lead SEO of Zendesk, he actually is in a partnership with SEO Radar, and what they do is they track all the changes you make on your websites. So it's really cool for showing clients what specifically has been done, and it'll help you correlate with the rankings. So that's something we might be doing a review on in the future as well. Of course, there's so many things going on right now, it's hard to say for sure when that's going to happen. But either way, back to the status codes. If you see a lot of 404s, you see a lot of 301s, I usually just run something like Broken Link Checker. It's a plugin. You download on WordPress, and it'll show you all of the broken links and automatically help you. If you click a button, it'll take them out for you, or change the redirects to the actual URLs they should be going to. If you don't have a WordPress website, you can use other things like I think it's like, I don't even know the name of it. It's like brokenlinkchecker.com or something. But of course, there's other things as well, like Zenu, which is an app we use sometimes to check broken links as well. But in most cases, if you have a content management system like WordPress, you can just download that plugin. It helps you out with all of those problems. And I usually run that about once a month on our clients' websites. Before I continue, let's see if we got any people talking. So we got 18 people watching. By the way, if you guys haven't liked the video yet, please give it a like. Trevor says he can hear me loud and clear. What's up, Trevor? Daily Info says, yep. Nick says perfect volume. Steven says sounding good. Thanks for your response. Now I'm clear. NMR says, I think the free version charges you after many crawls. No, so it only charges you if you want to do more than 500 URLs. So in most cases, if you're just doing local sites, you'll be okay with that. Okay, so title length. We already looked at this, but you can also just press this button right here, or just click up here, and it'll sort. So if you just wanted to find the URLs that are easy wins, like for instance, when I say easy wins, like things that you could instantly optimize, just look for the ones that are over 75 characters and just reduce the lengths. And then, like I said, with the 55 characters, just find all the ones that are under that or don't have any titles at all, just making sure that you're actually going to be indexing these pages. Of course, all of these pages are kind of like spam content that we're probably not going to want to index. I don't even know what these are yet. We'd have to check that out. But that's an easy one. You can also filter by how many things are actually showing up in these results. Like you can say, oh, I don't want to see things that are under 4 characters because we know all of those are duplicates. But that's in the sorting, and we're not doing that right now. I think it's in the configuration. Title pixel width, you don't have to worry about because we're just using it by length. Meta description, so this is another easy win. You can just filter by all the things that are missing meta descriptions or under a certain amount of characters. Generally, if you're at 155 meta characters or characters in the meta description, you're fine. If you're under that, you can get more. And if you're over like 175, I think you're going too much. I think it might actually be 165. Also, if there's duplicate meta descriptions, like schedule appointment call now, and they're not being unique to the pages, probably going to want to optimize those. And if they're not mentioning the keywords in the meta description, you're missing out on the bolding that's going to happen in the search results, which everybody knows improves click-through rates, which is user intent, and hopefully, I think it's partly user experience based ranking factor. Meta keywords. If you look in here and you see meta keywords, you're just going to want to say take those out because that's a tag that's no longer being used. H1s should usually be unique per page. Now the best practice for this is usually just to have the H1 replicate what's on the title, And the reason why that is because when people go to a web page off of the title or of the search result, which is usually the title, unless Google changes it because they don't like your title, they're going to hopefully see what was with the title. So if they go and they click on something for cortisone shots, they're going to want to land on the page and see cortisone shots. You'll see that we're actually using H1s here and then H1s here as the second H1. You don't really want to have two H1s. The problem is that Squarespace doesn't really give you the ability to remove that. And I still don't know why to this day, like a year later after me discovering this, they still haven't fixed this. And one of the things they actually added recently is schema markup that you can't remove. So like they automatically give you like local business markup for some reason. And it's like ridiculous because the local business markup they have doesn't even have like the complete like markup for the, yeah, it's crazy. Which is another reason why if you're going to be going with a content management system that doesn't respect your freedom, you're probably not going to want to use it for like long-term websites. I usually use it just for like ranking and renting. Now the next things you'll see is the H2 links, same stuff, meta robots. Also, you don't want your H tags to be like crazy long. I think like the max is like, what is it, like 35 characters? I forget what it is. You just want to make sure that your H1s are not like an entire paragraph. So the meta robots, you can see if there's like any no index tags. You probably want to look at these to make sure that certain things are being no indexed. So if you see like author URLs or like tags, you don't want to really be indexing that stuff. The meta refresh is just like it's almost like a 301. So if somebody hits a page and there's a meta refresh on it, it'll redirect you to like another page. People don't really use these anymore, so a lot of this stuff's like from the old Screaming Frog, I think, and they just didn't want to get rid of it. Although it is important to look at, I guess. The Canonicals. So if you guys don't know what Canonicals are, Canonicals basically say to Google that this page is about this page. So self-pointing Canonicals are saying that this page is taking ownership of this page, which has this content. It's kind of confusing, but really what the Canonicals are for is that if you have two pages about blue shirts, if you have two pages about shirts, one of them is a blue shirt, one of them is a red shirt, and they have the exact same content, you're going to want to point a canonical at the main page that you want ranking for that type of product or whatever it is. So basically, if you have duplicate content and there's a bunch of like duplicate content that should really only be about one main thing, like about, for instance, the main shirt, and it's not really about, like if you're trying to rank for like 50 different types of colored shirts, then you wouldn't want to point canonicals all to one shirt, because they would all be unique, right? Because you would make it all unique about yellow and what the fabric about yellow is and all that sort of stuff. But if it's the exact same stuff and it's just about a certain shirt, the only thing that's different is the color, then you would point canonicals back to the main shirt. Okay. If that makes sense. This will show you the size of the pages. So I think this is how much I don't know what the measure of the size is, but how big the actual page is. This will show you the word counts. This is another quick win. If you filter by this, you can see if there's pages that only have 0 characters on it, you're going to want to add text. Also, if there's a lot of important pages, like for instance, this contact page only has 142 characters, might be able to add more to that. Or maybe this is another important page that, disk injuries. We already know that could probably be have a lot more text on it, especially if that's a main keyword page that's trying to be ranking. One of the things that Yoast says is that you should have a minimum of 300 words per page. This really depends on the user intent of what they're trying to find and what the experience is going to be for that. But in most cases, having longer form content is usually a better thing. It'll show you the text ratio, which I think has to do with the text to HTML and pictures and whatnot. I don't really look at that. The level, I believe, is the number of clicks in depth to get to this page. I think that's what it is. We can look at that in terms of site structure in a second. Generally, you don't want your pages to be more than 2 to 3 clicks in depth. So if I filter this, yeah, so that is that is what it is. So like for instance, the home page is only 0 clicks in depth because there's no clicks to get to that page. Now the services is 1. You want to make sure that your main pages don't take more than 2 to 3 clicks in depth to get to those main pages from the home page. So if there's something that's like an important page like the blog and it takes 43 clicks to get to it, that's not usually a good thing. especially if the blog's really important, which in most cases it is. So we got our in links. This shows the number of in links to our pages. You can use this to see how authoritative these pages are as well, because Google kind of looks at the number of in links and what are the important pages linking to these pages. So if we know that there's 344 in links going to the homepage, linking the homepage to this page will likely pass a good amount of authority, because this is a very high authority page, mainly because it's the homepage, but also has a ton of internal links. In terms of the outlinking, it'll show you how many outlinks are going to, I think, other websites, or maybe it's also internal links as well. I don't know. I think this is both internal and external. I'm not sure. Oh, no. This is internal, and then this is external. So I say usually, the problem is it doesn't show the actual content internal links. So this is actually considering the menu bar also. What it would be nice is if they actually showed you how many times this is linking within the content. And then the same thing with the external outlinks. This could be anywhere within menu items. The thing that you want to know is that on the menu, it doesn't really matter as much, but within the content, you only want about 2 to 3 internal links per 1,000 words and 2 to 3 external links per 1,000 words. And externally linking actually helps rank, because it shows that you're willing to point to other authority sources, and it shows that you know what you're talking about. The response times right here, you'll see all the different load times for the pages. And this is just based off the page. I don't think this is based off the server. So you definitely want to do cross-check this with any sort of page speed insights or like GT metrics or whatever. And then we got the last modified and the redirect URI. The last modified is when the date was picked up as last modified. I don't usually see this actually showing up here, so I don't know. Maybe you have to connect this to the analytics or something to see this. And then the redirect is if this is redirecting to any other URL or URI. So there is some more stuff that we need to cover. Let's see what we got. Should I download and run broken link checker on my site, or did you already do that? I think we did that, Ralph, but we do need to double check on that. And actually we will be doing some streaming for your site in the near future. So right now, like I said, I am training Kayla, where she is local, and hopefully be doing a lot more implementations in the near future live. Kayla, before we continue, do you have any questions?
Not off the top of my head.
Not off the top of your head. Okay, cool. So, so one of the things I did want to show you guys was if you go over here to the side, this kind of makes it a little bit more easier to understand. And the reason why I say that is because instead of remembering all that stuff, it'll actually show you. So if we go into here, you can see, for instance, response codes. So you can see that there are there is one page that has a 404. So if we scroll over, or sorry, this says connection refused. There's 4 pages with 404s. So the reason why this is a little bit more helpful, and it might not seem that more helpful at the moment, is because you actually get to see what Screaming Frog is telling you is kind of things that you want to look at. So for instance, these are all blocked by robots. We probably want to figure out whether or not that should be happening. These have no responses. These are redirects. If we keep scrolling down, you'll see, I don't know what this is. Oh, I think this is the URLs. So you'll see this one's over 115 characters, which is generally a bad thing. You don't want your URLs to be super long. And I don't know why it doesn't say URL. I think URI and URL are different. I think the URL is actually just the website name, and the URI is like the complete path, which is just a small detail. The page titles, you'll see it shows the missing page titles. It'll show the duplicates. It'll show the ones that are over 75 characters, the ones that are below 30, all the ones with the same H1s. So that makes more sense than just trying to go in here and try to remember everything I say around this, and just like going through here and being like, oh, I don't remember what he said about H1s, because you can just go in here and say, oh, Screaming Frog says that we should probably have pages that have different H1s. And then if you actually click on these folders, it'll show you all of the things it's talking about. So there's this many duplicates, this many below 30, this many below 200 pixels, this one with the same this many with the same H1s. And you can click on these two and just filter like that. Same thing with the meta descriptions, H1s, H2s. The images, you can click on all the ones with missing alt text. That's an easy one. You can just start adding alt text to those. And so on and so on. The only thing that we didn't really cover, which I was telling you guys about before, was the analytics. So if you go in here and you actually connect your analytics by going to configuration, API access, and you connect your analytics in your Search Console, and all you have to do is just sign into your Google account for that and activate Screaming Frog Pro. It'll show you it'll help you filter all the pages with bounce rates above 70%. And then you can look at all the different factors that's going on with them and be like, oh, well, if it's above a 70% bounce rate, we should probably fix that. Anything with sessions above 0, no Google Analytics data if you can't pick anything up. And then Search Console, you'll see it looks like it shows you the different click-through rates that are going on here. If you can do click-through rate optimization. The thing that's silly though is you can literally just go into Google Analytics or Search Console and just do this, look at this data like manually. So that's pretty much it for the basic part of Screaming Frog. If you guys have any questions, let me know now. Also, what I was saying before is the site structure is you can actually go in here and you can see all the different URLs in the clicks in depth. So you can see that some of these have, 1 clicks in depth, 3, and then all of the pages that actually are that, far down. And then you can actually sort by it here as well, I believe. And then it'll also show you the response times on average by different pages. So this is pretty good response times. And you'll usually see this with Squarespace. It's usually pretty fast. With WordPress, sometimes you'll see like 5-second response times and you want to fix those. So yeah, like I said, with the more advanced stuff, you can do bulk exports and start filtering data in like Excel. You can create sitemaps. You can look at certain things like, all this stuff we were able to see in here already, but more specifically. And you can also do like certain filters and certain extraction values. Most of the time, you don't really have to do this stuff unless you're doing like huge audits. And even in that case, I'm probably going to be using something like Deep Crawl, which is maybe another audit we're going to have to do, or another tutorial we're going to have to do later. But you usually don't want to do Screaming Frog unless you're under 50,000 URLs. If you're over that, you use something like Deep Crawl, which goes up to like millions. And there's people that we've actually interviewed who do like million-page audits. And the type of data you have to deal with at that level is insane. But still a lot of the same similar stuff. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed that, let me know by leaving a like. And we got 20 people in here, so I don't see any. We got one comment from Trevor. Not a Screaming Frog question, but an SEO one. The more I rank my clients, the more spam SEO emails they get from experts wanting to help them. Thoughts? So I mean, generally, I don't really know what to say about that. I mean, I would think people would be emailing them less because because they're ranking well now. I actually haven't experienced that. A lot of the people I help, and I even do this live in front of everybody, and they don't seem to be getting tons of emails. So I don't know if that's area specific. Maybe there's a lot of SEOs in your area. Trevor says, it seems as soon as I get them to page 1, they start getting hit. I don't mind, as most have only a Gmail account and no website, but something I started to notice. And a lot of these could be automated. There's certain things you can use like Scrapebox to contact people and just grab their emails, and it's probably gonna be another tutorial we do in the future as well, or even Pitchbox. But yeah, so I haven't actually experienced that, Trevor, so I don't know what to tell you there, man. So before we go, any questions, Kayla?
No questions. If I think of any, maybe I'll write them in the comments on the video for us to talk about.
Cool.
I'm gonna typing on that outline.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So yeah, by the way, we're going to be doing, sorry, I said we were going to do the giveaway today, but we're actually doing the giveaway tomorrow for the Internet Marketing Conference in Vegas. So if you want to enter that and you haven't done so already, make sure you head over to the giveaway video. It was like 4 videos ago, and leave a comment on that. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys in Vegas. So until I see you guys next time, happy SEOing.